What started out as a small Kickstarter campaign by 5 guys to produce 500 copies of a card game they made ended up becoming the most backed Kickstarter ever created and one of the top grossing Kickstarters ever. I believe it was the highest game Kickstarter ever. We're going to get in and take a look at Exploding Kittens. And we have both our normal copy of the game and the not safe for work copy of the game. Instead of doing a separate video for both of them, I'm just going to do one that covers both. They're pretty much the exact same game. A little bit of the artwork and cards are different inside, but other than that, they play exactly the same. First thing I wanted to mention was the shipping that came in these boxes, which are, you have the logo on the side, which gave you an interesting look from the mailman, but they were done through the company who brought us Cards Against Humanity. It's a cool indie option for shipping out board games for these people who are doing Kickstarters and things. Kind of neat. And before I get into anything else, I do want to mention to anyone out there who was a Kickstarter backer who might not have gotten theirs yet, I am going to spoil some of the surprises that came with it. So I just wanted to point that out. If you haven't gotten yours yet, you might want to skip the video for a little bit. But anyway, the first neat little surprise that came with it is a personalized comic by Matthew Inman, creator of the Oatmeal, and they used your shipping information to customize the comic. They kind of folded mine right across the middle, which kind of sucks, so it put a crease in the artwork, but I plan on cutting it out and framing it and sticking it in my game room. I think it's kind of cool. The second little Kickstarter thing that we got was this card talking about the Kickstarter and their promises and what you ended up getting here in the end, with a thank you from the creators and their little hidden surprise thing that they've been hinting at for the last month or so that they started adding to the boxes. Kind of neat. So the game itself is a pretty light, easy card game. It's kind of a Russian roulette, pressure luck type game. They claim it can be learned in 2 minutes, played in about 15, which is about right. A little bit longer if you're playing with more players. It runs 2 to 5 players. They suggest 3+. Agree with them pretty much on that one. And they recommend age 7 and up, basically because there's a lot of reading involved. On the back here we got a little bit of sample artwork. There's one of your Exploding Kittens, one of your diffused cards, a cat, and then a random see the future type card. So the box that we got from a Kickstarter is a magnetic front clasp on here. Kind of nice, pretty thick stuff it's made out of, so it should be pretty durable. We'll see how the folding hinge here holds up, but open it up, and there's our surprise. The meowing every time. It's kind of cute at first, but it does get kind of annoying. I haven't looked to see if there's a switch to shut it off, but in the very least it's kind of a neat little thing. We have our rulebook tucks up in here, and they give you slots for both the regular and not safe for work decks, or you could use it for an expansion later on, or a second deck, or whatever you wanted to. The rulebook's kind of neat, explains what's in here. The fact that you can play up to 9 if you combine the 2 decks. And it's kind of interesting. I wish they had made it into a little book and just stapled it on the edge, because I'm dog-earing the corners by sticking it in and out of the little sleeve there, but it works for what it is. And the big recommendation right on the second page of the rules is not to read these rules. They give you a website to go to watch an explanation of the game. It does make it quite a bit easier to learn to do it from that instead of reading. But you have the, you can read here to kind of quick reference. And our first edition logo. The rules themselves have a quick explanation of how the game works, which is right out of their video on their website. Then they explain setup and play. There's some variants for 2 players, though the game does play better with 3 or more. And then a quick reference guide for taking your turn. The backside is pretty much a quick reference guide. It explains the basic turn setup, and then definitions of the different types of cards, how to use them and when to use them. and then a little section for special rules for advanced play. The cards themselves are pretty good stock. They are paper, so if you plan on playing it a lot, which most people do, you might want to invest in some kind of sleeve just to protect them a little bit, but they seem pretty durable. They're going to hold up under normal use. Cards are divided into 5 different types, all featuring amazing artwork of Matthew Inman from the Oatmeal. And the basic idea here is that you're trying to avoid drawing the Exploding Kitten on your turn. And unlike most card games, you draw your card at the end of your turn. And if you happen to draw an Exploding Kitten, you're either dead and out of the game unless you have a way to diffuse it. Then you diffuse it using diffuse cards with things such as a laser pointer to distract the cat and keep him from accidentally blowing himself up. There are cards that let you see the future, with which you look at the deck and rearrange cards before drawing, which you can use to avoid blowing yourself up. There's attack cards, which allow you to skip your draw phase and force your opponent to take 2 draw phases on their turn. There's skip cards, which allow you to end your turn without drawing a card. And then there's various cats. And these unnamed cat cards you play and collect in pairs, matching up the icons in the corners. By the standard rules, every time you play a pair of these, you get to draw a random card from another player. In the advanced rules, there's things for getting pairs, triples, 4 of a kind, and so on, that give you increasingly better bonuses. And that's pretty much it. It's not much to learn. The artwork's kind of fun. Lots of interesting things to see. Definitely, if you're a fan of the Oatmeal, you'll recognize the art style. The game itself, though, plays pretty fast. It's a lot of fun. Definitely, the more people you have, the more fun it gets. And if you have 2 decks, you can play up to 9 players. So it's a really interesting game. Check it out. Now for the Not Safe for Work version of the game, it's the exact same game overall, though the artwork contains a lot of nudity, some swearing, lots of penis jokes. I was a little disappointed in what was in this one. It's more of the same as far as the game goes, just I expected more out of the Not Safe for Work variant. Guess that was my fault in the end, but still the exact same game. It's kind of fun. If you're only going to buy one, I say stick with the normal game. The Not Safe for Work one does come in a nice thick box. I'm going to keep it separated instead of combining the two. Has its own version of the rulebook. This one's folded a couple less times than the other one, so it might be worth using this one just because it doesn't have all the creases in it. Has that same warning not to read the rules to go to their website. Cards themselves, they're separated in 2 different decks, but they're half size, so they end up being the same size overall. The only real difference in the Not Safe for Work deck is language, as you can see there on that one. And there's a lot of cards with partial nudity and things like that. Lots of kind of immature jokes, which I guess is kind of the Oatmeal thing. I really wasn't that impressed with the Not Safe for Work deck. I guess I expected more out of it. The game itself is good, so you're not losing much if you did get this. Overall, it's a really fun game, though. If you're just looking for something quick and light to pick up, I would say get just the base set. Again, wasn't all that impressed with the Not Safe for Work one. I'm not sure what I was expecting, but apparently it was more than what's in there. There's a few kind of entertaining cards in there and things and pictures that the first time you play through, you're kind of going to snicker at them in a immature-ish way, but other than that, there's nothing in the Not Safe for Work deck that's going to stay around long. It's not the kind of thing you want to take to the game shop and have on the table either. So, but the other game is just fine, so definitely worth picking up that for a light, fun game, 2 to 5 players. There's plans for expansions in the future they've already talked about. And it's just a fun, quick game. You're definitely going to get some table time out of it. At least around here, we're always looking for something quick and fun to play that we can squeeze in between bigger games while we're waiting for other players. And with a 15-minute playtime and up to 5 players, you can definitely get those in there. It's super easy to learn the more you play. Usually by the second game, everybody's got the hang of it and there's no questions anymore. So anyway, just wanted to show you those, and hope you enjoy it. We'll see you in the next video.